Sandra down the front, and then across to Joshua over the side. So if you keep your hand up, Josh, so that Jane can see you. Thanks. Sandra.
If someone says that they have a desire to feel their fear, but underneath that, the motivation to want to feel their fear is to avoid something bad happening to them, does that mean it's a facade?
Of course, you're basically saying that if someone wants to feel their fear and it's in order to avoid another fear, then they're not really feeling their fear, are they?
So, like, if I don't want to be tortured and I feel like something bad is going to happen like that, if I don't feel my fear, like, how would I resolve that so that I can actually release that fearful emotion?
So have you ever been personally tortured?
No, but my grandmother was tortured, and I've been being threatened by spirits a lot.
I know.
And
so what's happened here is you got your grandma, who's now in the spirit world, is she?
Yeah.
Yep. And your grandma, who's been actually tortured herself. Now that emotion got passed down to, obviously, which grandma? Was it father or mother?
Father.
Father side, yep. So dad's side got that projection. So dad obviously now feels he's got to keep women safe, he's got to make women feel safe, he's got to prevent them from being harmed and so forth. And then, of course, he's going to project that at you, his daughter. Yep. So your dad's pretty hooked into your life as a result, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here we got grandma. Now grandma passes and she's got a granddaughter. What does she do? She goes, I'm really afraid for my granddaughter. So now grandma's in spirit. So I'll draw spirit in blue. So grandma's now in spirit. And she's now telling you all the things that could possibly happen to you. Right? Which in today's age and where you live, highly unlikely they'll happen to you, right?
What the spirits have told me is that there is like an organ transplant mafia that kidnaps people and then, harvests them, and it happens a lot in Mexico. And also, I have been speaking up about organ donation and the procedures that happen.
Can I just stop you though? Where do you live?
In the US.
Right. So you don't live in Mexico?
No.
No.
But in the US, they harvest organs from live people and they don't give them any anesthesia.
But can you see now that what you're doing is you're imposing your grandma's fear upon your life? And you're making the choice to do it. In fact, you're in this conversation completely justifying it to me. You're making the choice to accept grandma's opinion. Why is the real question. Why do you want to keep accepting grandma's opinion?
I have a feeling that it will actually happen to me, and if I don't do
it... No, your grandma has a feeling it will happen to you.
She does?
Yeah, of course she does. Right? She believes it's going to happen to you. She believes it's going to happen to any woman, right? But she believes it's going to happen to you. She wants to prevent that from happening to you. So that's why she's surrounding you all the time. The question I'm asking you is, why are you accepting grandma's opinion?
Because I don't want to be tortured.
No, it's not for that reason. There's something with you and your grandma that you keep allowing her opinion into your mind when it's actually out of harmony with love. It's got nothing to do with actually being tortured. It's like I've been tortured myself, right? First century, I was tortured quite a lot, actually. There's a few occasions in my life where I was tortured in the first century. I was 21 at one point in time. The torture of myself began at 8 years of age when I was in that school I was telling you about, and I had some more when I was 15, and then I got badly tortured almost to the point of dying when I was 21, but I'm not afraid of getting tortured. So the question becomes, why are you? And it's never happened to you.
Because I guess I was beaten as a child, so I've always been afraid of pain.
So you hold it a bit closer.
I have been beaten as a child, so I've always been afraid of pain.
So there's a predisposition to the concept.
Yeah.
From whom? Who beat you?
My grandparents and my dad.
Yeah, interesting, huh? The very people who would think they're trying to protect you actually caused some of this fear of being harmed, violent harm inside of you. I agree. And then what else has occurred? You've had to make a decision at some point, Sandra, is what I'm getting at. You've made a decision to avoid any faith in God and any faith in God's goodness, any faith that things won't happen to you if you deal with things. You've made that decision. You've also made a decision to accept the family-based treatment of you, to continue to accept your grandmother's words, even though she's now passed. You continually accept that. You've made a decision to do that, right? And I'm saying to you, what causes you to keep making this decision? And what it is your dependency on family. You are so dependent on your family, who have actually, by your own admission, harmed you, but you still want them in your life.
Sometimes I feel like I need to protect them as well.
I know, there's guilt, there's all sorts of emotion tied up with it, I understand, but in the end, you're the one deciding to have them in your life, and you're the one deciding to listen to them. And you don't want to take responsibility for that, the fact that it's your decision. And you can change your mind, but what might happen if you change your mind? Your grandma might do what she did when she was alive, and that is punish you for changing your mind out of harmony with her opinions. And your father certainly would try to do that, given his influence on your life. And you're afraid of that. So the reason why you're maintaining these connections with these spirits is because you wish to keep doing it to appease them so that you feel less fear. But the reality is you're feeling many times their fears. They're not even things that have happened to you. They're their fears being imposed upon you, and you're letting yourself be open to that attack because you don't want to have any faith that if you just deal with the emotion of why you're afraid of them, then you'd probably be less afraid of everything. You follow?
I have gotten in touch a little bit with the fear underneath at one point.
Can I stop you, Sandra?
Uh-huh.
Your emotion is you're in complete disagreement with what I've said to you. Inside of yourself, you're in complete disagreement. You don't want to give it up. And I'm saying to you, unless you give it up, unless you give up this desire to listen to your family-based experiences, you're not going to work through this at all. You're going to carry these beliefs around. You're going to be reading articles about, because the law of attraction works perfectly, you're going to be reading articles about what do they call it? Harvesting and so forth. Yeah, and then you'll read articles about torture and you'll read articles about this, not understanding that all you're doing is heightening your own fear because you want to maintain a false belief. And I'm saying to you, something's going to have to change, and you don't want it to change, so I don't know what else we can say. Does that make sense? While you don't want it to change, you're going to keep doing this to yourself, and you're going to bear the consequence of doing it to yourself.
Does that mean it could happen to me as well?
Of course it could happen to you if you keep doing it. If you keep choosing to accept, and you know who it's probably going to happen from, unfortunately? From the very family that you are trying to maintain a connection with. They are the most likely person who's going to damage you in this regard until you process through the emotion, which started from the exact same family. You follow? Your fear of being harmed came from them. And the irony is they're causing you to take away their responsibility for it and to put it onto the world and say, oh, there's all these bad things happening in the world, and I've got to worry about all these bad things happening in the world. But bad things have already happened to you in your own family. And unless you're willing to process that, then it's highly likely you may attract other events, right, in the world. But they will be the primary cause of them.
So you don't think that having a fear of powerlessness could attract torture?
My dear sister, I think you've just asked the same question a different way again because you haven't listened to my previous answer. And my answer is exactly the same as what I've already said. And my feeling is that you need to listen to it. But you can choose, you've got a will, you can choose to ignore it. Right? Your fear is so strong that it began last night as soon as you arrived, and it's been projected ever since at this group. And there is an issue with that, right? In that you do not wish to feel it And that's the problem. You remember the steps. It's like, do I have a desire to feel it? Do I have faith that it can be better? No, I don't. You believe it's going to happen. You believe the worst is going to happen. This is how you think with your life. The worst is going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. You don't want to take any action to stop the influence that your family has on this belief system, and you don't want to feel the emotion that the worst will happen. You don't want to feel it. You want to avoid it. And if you don't do any of those things, the net result's going to be, instead of the child getting up and walking, the net result's going to be you're going to be on the ground crawling for the rest of your life in that comparison. And that's your choice. You can't blame someone else for that choice, though. You're an adult now. You've got responsibility of yourself. You can't keep blaming other people for the choice you're making to continue accepting a whole heap of beliefs that are untrue. Do you follow that? Yeah. And this is and it's a great lesson, I feel, for anybody listening to the discussion, because most of us are doing that. Most continue to make a whole heap of choices and then wonder why our life isn't changing. Of course it can't. You can't change.
But how do you change then, like from this place that I'm now? Like it just
I've already
feels
told
like
you. I've already told you how, but you do not want to hear it. So what can I do? I've told you that you're going to need to have a desire to be different. You're going to have some faith in God that things will work out. You're going to have to feel some emotion, and you're going to have to take some action. But you don't want to hear that. So, and it's up to you what you do. It's not up to me. It's not my life being affected by it. It's yours. But the fact that you don't want to hear it and you want to keep asking the same question over again is the issue that you face, Sandra. And that's an indication of how resistive you are to making a change on the issue, because you're honouring, fear is your God. It's the only thing you consider. And this is why you become very unloving with me, and as you have done already twice, last night and this morning, in my break. And because to you, your fear is just like, fear is more important than anything. And I'm saying it's not. And I'm saying while you believe it is, you're going to keep doing the same thing. You're going to keep not taking action, not having faith. And so you keep yourself in this place. Do you follow? While you keep doing this. To me, your fear is no more than my fear. In fact, your fear is a lot less than my fear that I've had to address. I've actually been tortured. You haven't. Your grandmother has a similar level of fear that I had to address, but you don't. Right? And yet you're not willing to address it. And part of it is because of your connection with your grandmother in spirit. Part of it is this connection you don't want to break. You like her being around. You want the safety of it. You want to feel secure with it and so forth. Like my feelings are, I'd get rid of the relationship as soon as I possibly could under those circumstances, because she's influencing you out of harmony with love of you. Does that make sense? Yeah. But I've been, like I said, tortured 3 times in my life. Well, actually, it's actually more than that if you count my death, right? So I've been tortured 4 times in my life, quite severely, to the point of death or dying, and yet I don't have the same level of fear that you do about this situation. And you have not been tortured, so the fear has to be coming from somewhere, and I'm suggesting to you where it's coming from and what you can do to deal with it. You follow? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.